I thought the knocking was coming from my front door. That was the first mistake. The second mistake was opening it. But the worst mistake was realizing the sound had never been outside the house at all. Thought it was coming from underneath the floor. And every night, it came at exactly 3:17 a.m. 3 knocks. A pause. Then 3 more. I know how this sounds. I know most people will think I imagined it, but I still have the police report. I still have the security footage. And I still have the copy of the old blueprint that proves one thing. There was a room under my house that was never supposed to exist. English. I moved to the house in late November, about 20 minutes outside a small town in western Pennsylvania. The kind of town with one diner, one gas station, one church, and people who look at you just a little too long when they realize you're not from around there. I was 32, recently divorced, and looking for silence. That was what the realtor promised me. Peace and quiet, she said. And honestly, that was all I wanted. The house sat at the end of a narrow gravel road, surrounded by bare trees and empty fields. It was old, maybe early 1900s, with white peeling siding, a sagging porch, and a mailbox that still had the previous owner's last name scratched into the metal. Holloway, the price was low, too low. When I asked why, the realtor said it needed work. Old plumbing, bad wiring, foundation issues. Normal old house problems. She did not mention the basement. She did not mention the neighbor across the road. And she definitely did not mention what happened to the family who lived there before me. The first few days were normal. Too normal, actually. The house made old house noises. Pipes clanked. Floorboards popped. Wind pushed against the windows. I told myself it was nothing. Then, on the 4th night, I heard footsteps upstairs. Not loud. Not dramatic. Just soft, careful steps. Like someone trying not to wake me. I was sitting in the kitchen, answering emails, and I remember freezing with my fingers still on the keyboard. Step. Pause. Step. Pause. I lived alone. I grabbed a flashlight from the junk drawer and went upstairs. Every room was empty. No open windows. No signs of anyone. But when I came back downstairs, the hallway light flickered once, then twice, then it went out. My phone screen lit up at the same moment. 3:17 a.m. That was the first night. I heard the knocking. 3 knocks. Then silence, then 3 more. I stood in the hallway for almost a full minute, staring at the front door. I thought maybe it was a branch hitting the porch. But there were no trees close enough. I thought maybe it was a prank, but nobody was there. I looked through the peephole. The porch was empty. Just snow, the old road. And across the street, barely visible under a dead yellow porch light, my neighbor was standing outside his house. He was an older man, maybe late 60s, wearing a heavy brown coat. He wasn't looking at me. He was looking at my house. More specifically, he was looking at the basement window. The next morning, I bought 2 security cameras from the hardware store in town. One for the porch. One for the basement stairs. I told myself it was just for peace of mind. That night, I went to bed early. At exactly 3:17 a.m., my phone buzzed on the nightstand. Motion detected. Front porch, I opened the app. The footage was grainy, black and white, distorted by static. At first, I saw nothing. Then the image glitched. For less than a second, someone was standing directly in front of the door. Tall. Still. Head lowered. Then the screen froze. When the video came back, the porch was empty. A second later, I heard it from downstairs. Knock. 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 The next afternoon, I walked across the road to talk to my neighbor. His house was smaller than mine, with boarded-up windows on one side and a rusted pickup truck in the driveway. He saw me coming, but didn't wave. I asked him if he had seen anyone near my house the night before. He stared at me for a long time. Then he said, "You heard it, didn't you?" I asked him what he meant. He looked past me, toward my house. Then he said something I still hear in my head. "If it knocks 3 times, don't answer. If it knocks 4. He stopped. I asked, "If it knocks 4, what?" His face went pale. Then he said, "Then it already knows you're listening." He turned around and went inside. I should have left it alone. That's what I tell myself now. But when you live alone in a house that knocks back at you, curiosity stops feeling like a choice. I went to the county records office and asked for everything they had on the property. Old permits, inspection reports, ownership records. The woman behind the counter looked uncomfortable when I gave her the address. She disappeared into the back room for almost 20 minutes. When she came back, she handed me a thin folder and said, "Some of the older records are missing." Inside was the original blueprint. The house was exactly how I knew it. Kitchen. Living room. 2 bedrooms upstairs. Basement. But something was wrong. The basement in the blueprint was smaller than the basement in my house. At first, I thought I was reading it wrong. Then I noticed a wall on the blueprint that did not exist in my basement. Or maybe it was the other way around. Maybe there was a wall in my basement that had been built later. A wall that was hiding something. That night, I went into the basement with a flashlight, a crowbar, and the blueprint folded under my arm. The basement smelled worse than usual. Wet earth. Old wood. Something sour underneath it. Along the far wall, there was a row of old shelves filled with paint cans, jars of nails, and boxes left by the previous owners. I pushed them aside one by one. Behind the last shelf, I found it. A door. Small. Narrow. Almost like a closet door. But it was not a closet. The door had been painted the same color as the wall, and the strange part was not that it was locked. The strange part was that the lock was on my side. Someone had locked that room from the outside. The latch broke easier than I expected. The door opened inward. The air that came out was freezing. Not cold like winter air. Cold like something sealed away from the sun. The room was small, maybe 6 feet wide and 8 feet long. There was no window. No vent. No light. Only a child's wooden chair in the corner. A cassette tape on the floor. And a framed family photograph leaning against the wall. The faces in the photo had been scratched out. Mother. Father. 2 children. All of them carved away with something sharp. Then I saw the writing. It was scratched into the wall at eye level. Don't answer after the 3rd knock. I stood there, staring at it. Then something knocked from inside the wall behind me. 3 times. I ran upstairs and locked the basement door behind me. For the first time since I moved in, I considered calling the police. Not because I thought they would believe me, but because I needed another human voice in that house. I reached for my phone. No service. Then every light in the house went out. The darkness felt immediate. Heavy, like someone had dropped a blanket over the entire world. I stood in the hallway, holding my flashlight. Then I heard the knocking again, but this time it wasn't coming from downstairs. It was coming from my bedroom door. Knock. 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 I didn't move. I didn't breathe. Then came the 4th knock. Very soft. Almost gentle. And from the other side of the door, I heard my own voice whisper, "Open it." My phone buzzed in my hand. I almost dropped it. The screen lit up with a notification from the security app. Motion detected. Basement room. I stared at those words until my eyes started to water. Basement room. I had never named a camera that. I had one camera labeled front porch, one labeled basement stairs. There was no basement room. There was not supposed to be a basement room. Another notification came through. Motion detected. Basement room. Then another dot, and another dot. The app opened by itself. The camera feed loaded. Static filled the screen. Then I saw the hidden room. And standing in the center of it was me. At first, my brain refused to understand what I was seeing. It was me. Same clothes. Same face. Same flashlight in one hand. But I was upstairs. I was standing in the hallway. I was looking at my phone. The thing on the screen slowly raised its head toward the camera. It smiled. Not a normal smile. Too wide. Too still. Like it had learned the shape, but not the reason. Then it lifted one hand and knocked on the wall beside it. Once. Twice. 3 times. Then it leaned closer to the camera. The audio crackled. Through the speaker, in my own voice, it whispered, "You forgot the 4th. Then something knocked directly behind me. I don't remember opening the front door. I remember the cold hitting my face. I remember falling off the porch steps into the snow. And I remember seeing my neighbor already standing in the road. He had a flashlight in one hand, a shotgun in the other, but he wasn't pointing it at me. He was pointing it at the house. I shouted that something was inside. He said, "No." His voice was shaking. "Something is trying to come out." That was when I realized he had not been watching me all those nights. He had been watching the house. Something is trying to come out. That was when I realized he had not been watching me all those nights. He had been watching the house. He took me into his house and locked the door behind us. Then he showed me the newspaper clippings. The Holloway family. Mother. Father. 2 kids. Missing since 1998. No bodies. No forced entry. No sign they had packed. The police report said the house was empty when deputies arrived. Except for one thing. Every door in the house had been found open. Every door except the basement room. That one was locked from the outside. My neighbor's name was Daniel Reese. He told me he had lived in my house before the Holloways. He told me the knocking started after he found the hidden room. And he told me the thing in that room did not just mimic voices. It learned them. It learned memories. It learned the people you missed, the people you trusted, the sound of your own voice when you were afraid. Then it used those voices to make you open the door. I asked him what happened if you opened after the 4th knock. He looked toward the window. My house sat across the road, dark and silent. Then he said, "Then something comes out wearing the part of you it learned best." I left the next morning. I did not go back for my furniture. I did not go back for my clothes. I gave the police the footage, the blueprint, the photo, everything. They asked if I had been drinking. They asked if I had been under stress. They asked if maybe someone had broken in. But nobody could explain the camera label. Nobody could explain the room. And nobody could explain why, when they searched the basement, the hidden door was gone. Just a flat concrete wall. Fresh paint. No latch. No scratches. No warning. I live in an apartment now, 3 hours away from that town. 3rd floor. No basement. No porch. No empty road. For a while, I thought it was over. Then last night, I woke up cold. My phone was glowing on the nightstand. 3:17 a.m. I waited. Nothing. No footsteps. No static. No voice. Then I heard it. 3 knocks. Not from the front door. Not from the hallway. From inside my closet. I did not move. I did not answer. I just stared at the closet door until sunrise. But right before the sun came up, something inside whispered in my voice, "You know I'm already in here."